Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's July 9th, 2026. Great to be with all of you today. It's about 8:40 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Bob Lang, and it's time for our Daily Bites, where we come to you twice a week, talk a little bit about the markets, trading, options, technical analysis, the economy, Federal Reserve, anything else that's important that will help us make decisions, better decisions to make money in this market. So, we've had a pretty volatile week so far. We had some big movements on Monday, bigger movements yesterday. Markets swooned all the way down. SP 500 nearly tested that low level of about 7,400 yesterday, but did bounce back. And it looks like this morning we're trying to recover some of those losses from Wednesday. 24 handles up on the SP 500 futures. NASDAQ doing much better than 1%. Of course, that index was hammered really hard on Tuesday. Dow Industrials were down hard yesterday, did recover a lot of those losses by the end of the day, but it's up about 50 points today. We're seeing some down movements on a couple of Dow components like IBM and Microsoft this morning. So we'll see if those can recover. Don't forget, we got a big earnings season coming up, which starts next week with the financials. And then we start getting into some of the technology names and some of the bigger discretionary defense names that will report before the end of July. So far, it's been quiet on the earnings front. We did have earnings this morning from Pepsi, which came in real good. Stock is down a little bit off of those numbers. Stock did actually have a good sharp move up before earnings reported this morning, but we'll see what happens today. We didn't do a whole heck of a lot yesterday. It was just mostly a good day of observation and watching what's going on. There's a lot of volatility in some of these memory names like Micron, SanDisk, Western Digital, and Seagate Technology, STX, which this cohort has been on fire all year long, but they've started to stumble of late and pull back. Maybe this is just that pullback opportunity that people have been waiting for. Still, I know a stock like SanDisk, which got up to about $2,200 a share about a week and a half ago, and actually hit $1,400 and change. That is a huge drop. It's about 30% drop, and it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, especially when you start to think that, well, maybe the stock is still overpriced at $1,400 a share. So I know it makes it hard to step in on a name like that after it's had such a huge run and then it pulls back so quickly. Remember something: markets, when they're going up, it's like taking the escalator. When they're going down, it's like taking the window. You go down heck of a lot faster than you do going up. So volatility, the VIX is down a little bit this morning. We did see a big pop in the VIX yesterday up towards 20%, but it did retreat. Volatility sellers came back in and started selling the VIX and started selling a lot of that protection that they had from earlier in the week. We saw good movements in a couple of names, and one of them I highlighted yesterday in the chat room was NVDA. NVDA actually broke 200 for a little bit yesterday, and people came in and started buying options on that. Really heavy flow in the 200 to 202 to 205 calls, which were expiring yesterday. And in fact, yesterday in the chat room, I highlighted a 2-hour trade. Basically, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody came in and bought a slew of the 205 calls, which expired yesterday. So basically 2 hours from 2 to 4 o'clock. Somebody looking for a large move, and those were done at about 13 cents. Now, that's not a trade that I generally like to do these days. Back in the old days when I was a lot younger and could risk a lot more and not worry about it, I used to do trades like that for a little bit of time. But when you think about the context of that trade, right? 13 cents. What do you need to do to make a killing on that? You really have to buy a lot of contracts. Maybe buy 100, maybe 200 contracts, and that's going to cost you a good sum of money, right? 100 contracts can cost you 13 grand. 200 contracts is going to cost you about $26,000. So let's say you bought 500 contracts or something like that for about $6,000. Well, you need this. The stock at the time was out of the money, and it was only 2 hours. Now, do you really want to risk that kind of capital on a very, very short-term trade, even though the setup was good and the flow was good? I don't know. I don't think that that's a really smart use of your capital. Now, of course, if you went on a later expiration, maybe Friday, this coming Friday the 10th, or maybe even next week, you paid up a little bit more, but you could use that same amount of capital, right, and apply that to some contracts in NVIDIA. You're not going to get 50 to 100, but maybe you can get 20 or 15, and hang on to that a little bit longer, and see through and live through some of that volatility that's going to shake the stock a little bit in that short period of time. Now, obviously, of course, that stock went up nicely towards the end of the day yesterday. They followed the lead of those. The stock followed the lead of some of that flow, and it went up to about 205. And I think those calls went up to about 15 or to 17, 18, 20 cents before retreating at the end of the day, because it closed at 204. So those calls, the 205 calls, were out of the money. But still, even in that interim frame, in about an hour or so, you could have made about a 50% return. And again, those opportunities are few and far between. And I think that a needle in a haystack kind of a trade is not something you want to do on a regular steady diet of trading, right? These are not things that you do. You don't go all in on these sort of trades. You don't put a large amount of capital in. If you bought maybe that call at 13 cents, if you bought maybe 40 or 50 contracts, you didn't put a lot of capital up there, because if you're wrong and the odds were against you doing well, right? We're just looking at the momentum and the potential for that stock to do well, not a guarantee. If the stock didn't make it, at least you're not going to be ruined by losing a lot of money on a very short-term bet. So that's a good opportunity there. We've seen a lot of these opportunities showing up, not just with NVIDIA, but also with Tesla, with Apple, and Meta, and a couple of his other names. Very, very short-term, short time frame trades. Now, again, you have to keep it at the risk level at a very small range, right? And a typical amount where you're not going to be hurt, you're not going to be devastated if you lose on that trade. You lose a small amount or even a large amount. Okay. Hopefully, you guys see what the opportunities over there, and with the market volatility the way it is and the uncertainty flows. These opportunities are a day, 2 or 3 of those every single day. Sometimes I take those, other times I don't, and sometimes I pass, and sometimes I make the right decision, sometimes I don't. So I'm not going to get hurt by a short-term trade such as that. Okay. Let's see here. Again, we have pulled back a little bit this morning from those from the highs of the morning. NASDAQ still up 247 points. We had the minutes that came out yesterday that basically said they were kind of unanimous and talking about rate hikes coming in later on this year. But there is certainly the potential of a rate cut coming quickly if inflation starts trending down. We have earnings coming out later on tonight with WD-40. And then tomorrow morning, Delta earnings will be out, Delta Airlines. So they usually come in pretty good with some strong numbers. Economic data is rather light the rest of the week. We have some PMIs, we have some consumer confidence numbers, a little bit of housing. Jobless claims came in this morning already, and nothing much for tomorrow. And we'll have some bigger names reporting next week. Financials are coming out, and then also a few technology names and a few names that could make a difference. So let's take a look at a couple of charts here before we break. I was looking at Bloom Energy, which got hit hard. There's a short report out on this thing, which a guy came out, a company that believes that they're doing some wrong things, some bad things. I think they came out and denied this, and the company did. I just would tell you, be careful following some of these companies. There's a company, App11, APP is a symbol of that one. There was a hack report on this company late last year, and it turned out to be wrong. And the stock got hit really, really hard, and the writer had to apologize out in public. The company came out and denied everything, and they were correct. And the stock turned right back around and went right back up. So that could be the case here with Bloom Energy. I don't know. I don't know the facts of the case here, but certainly be careful if you're short. The stock's still in a nice, strong uptrend. I mean, gosh, the stock's $120 in March. It went all the way up to $350 just a couple weeks ago. So there's still a lot of interest in this name as well. So what are some other names I'll be looking at today? One name that I added yesterday, looking to add a little bit more today, is Broadcom, AVGO. Meta is also a name that's on my radar screen. And as I said earlier, IBM and Microsoft down a little bit. We'll see if there's some opportunities to add those on this dip over here. So it's going to be a couple of exciting weeks coming up with earnings season. And careful if you don't want to be too bearish coming into earnings season. That's for sure. So also looking at some biotech names, some defense names as well too. L3 Harris, LHX is a name that I have on my radar screen. Eaton, ETN is also a name that I've been looking at. And then finally, some other energy names like in the oil patch, like COP, ConocoPhillips, COP. I'll be looking at Valero, and even the big ones like Chevron, CVX, and also ExxonMobil. So take a look at those names as well. So have a great day. Appreciate everyone spending a little bit of time with me, and we'll be back on Monday morning to talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend and what happened these next couple of days of trading, today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last trading day of the week, and we get started with some new stuff on Monday morning. So have a great trading day. Have a great day tomorrow, and enjoy the weekend. And I'll see you guys all on the other side. Thanks, guys.
Girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand.